මෙම විශේෂ සන්ලයිට් නිෂ්පාදන මිලදීගෙන ශ්‍රී ලාංකේය මනුදම්වියමන අපි සවිමත් කරමු. සන්ලයිට් කෙයා.
Tonight, dangerous similarities. Health experts say seek help and don't self-medicate after highlighting similarities between COVID-19 and dengue. Fishy business. The police say vehicular traffic in Colombo unusually high as Sri Lanka bans tourists from Vietnam. At the helm. The President confirms the appointment of 7 members to the Colombo Port City Economic Commission. Dull sentiments. Sri Lanka's business confidence takes a serious dip in a 5-month low on third wave fears. All that and much more coming up on First at 9. This Monday, the 31st of May, 2021.
From AdaDerana. This is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammik Eknaik. Now, with the MV Express Pearl ship disaster termed as the worst marine disaster in Sri Lanka, the country's west coastline continues to suffer in the aftermath of the incident. Plastic pellets known as nurdles and dead animals continue to be washed ashore. An attorney speaking on behalf of the ship's captain, crew and the insurance company said that the captain of the ship rejected all claims pertaining to having prior knowledge of a chemical leak on board the ship before proceeding to Sri Lanka.
Even though the fire aboard the Express Pearl has been brought under control, the Navy is continuing with its measures to cool the vessel as smoke continues to emanate from the center of the ship. The incident is slated as the worst marine disaster Sri Lanka is confronted with, owing to none other than the various chemicals that enter the ocean, as well as the vast quantity of plastic pellets, known as nurdles, which too ended up in the water. The immediate effects of the chemicals on marine life was unclear. Dead animals washed ashore and continues to do so. As for the plastic pellets, the effect what they will have on the marine life and the ecosystem is unquantifiable as per experts. Though the nurdles initially washed up ashore on Sri Lanka's west coast, yesterday they were found from Galle and Mathura as well. Despite continued efforts to clear the beaches in Wattala, Nigambu and Kalutara of the nurdles, they just keep coming ashore. In the meantime, a team comprising of 10 police officers was appointed to investigate the fire which erupted on board Express Pearl. As such, statements were obtained from the vessel's captain and 6 of its crew by the Criminal Investigation Department today. Speaking on behalf of the ship's captain, crew and the insurance company, attorney at law Nipuna Vimalasekara said today that the process of recording statements from the ship's crew is still a work in progress. He said that all documents regarding the ship will be handed over to the CID and that a detailed document on the contents aboard the vessel was provided to the CID today. The attorney further stated that there had just been 20 to 25 tons of nitric acid aboard the ship in one container. He added that the captain of the vessel had rejected all claims of him having prior knowledge of a chemical leak on the ship as he proceeded to navigate the ship to Sri Lanka.
ගරු නීතිපති වෙත යොමු කර වැඩිදුර උපදෙස් ලබාගෙන තවදුරටත් විමර්ශනය කිරීමට බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. අදාළ නැවේ 25 දෙනෙකුට අදාළ කාර්ය මණ්ඩලයක් සිටි බවට වාර්තා වී තිබෙනවා. ඒ සියලු දෙනාගේ ප්‍රකාශ ලබා ගැනීම නියමිතයි.
කාලගුණය කොහොමුණත් රයිනෝ නම් වහලට සේෆ් තමයි මුළු ගෙදරම.
Now then, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa appointed members to the Colombo Port City Economic Commission today. President's Council Gamini Marapana has been appointed its chairman. Secretary to the Treasury S.R. Articulus, Secretary to the Ministry of Water Supply Dr. Priyat Bandhu Wickrama, former Chairman of the Board of Investment of Sri Lanka Salya Wickramasuriya, Chairman and Managing Director of Oral Corporation Kushan Kodituwaku, Managing Director of Mercantile Investment and Finance Gerard Ondache, and Chairman and Managing Director of McLaren's Group Rohan De Silva make up the rest of the Commission. Deputy Director General of Education and Research at the Ministry of Health, Dr. Hemantha Herath, said today that the Health Ministry has not issued any instructions for consent forms to be signed by recipients of a single vaccine dose. He stated that the ministry will make an official announcement on mainstream media of any such incidents in the upcoming days. Meanwhile, the public was urged to not self-diagnose people with symptoms of any illness.
Officials at the National Dengue Control Unit urge people to refrain from attempting to diagnose people showing symptoms of illness sans medical expertise. They say that both dengue and COVID-19 patients develop similar symptoms. As such, they call on the people not to self-diagnose and instead seek medical advice.
උණ ඇඟපත වේදනාව මේ රෝග ලක්ෂණ ඩෙන්ගු සහ කොවිඩ් තත්ත්ව දෙකේදීම අපිට දකින්න ලැබෙන්න පුළුවන්. තීරණය කරන්න හොඳ නැහැ නිවසේ ඉඳන් උණ හැදුනම මට තියෙන්නේ ඩෙන්ගුද මට තියෙන්නේ වෛරස් උණක්ද මට තියෙද්දි කොරෝනාද කියලා. තීරණය ගැනීමට මේ රෝග ලක්ෂණ තියෙන. එතකොට හැකි ඉක්මනින් ස්කම්ලත් වෛද්‍යවරයෙක් වෙත හෝ රෝහලක් වෙත යොමු වන්න. එතකොට එක රෝග තත්ත්වයක් තියෙන කෙනෙකුට වෙනත් කිසියම් හෝ රෝග තත්ත්වයක් ඇති වුණොත් සංකුලතාවලට යෑමේ හෝ බරපතල තත්ත්වයක් ඇතිවීමේ හැකියාව වැඩි. නිසා ඩෙන්ගු කොවිඩ් තියෙන රෝගියෙකුට ඩෙන්ගු වැළඳුනත් ඒ තත්ත්වය තිබෙනවා. එතකොට ඒ තත්ත්වය අපිට ගෙදර ඉඳන් පාලනය කරන්න බෑ. එතනදී ඒ තත්ත්ව දෙකම එකවර ඔබට තිබෙනවද නැත්නම් පසු ආවද කියන එක තීරණය කිරීමේ හැකියාව තියෙන ඒ පිළිබඳ මන අවබෝධයක් තියෙන වෛද්‍යවරුන්ට.
In the meantime, with Sri Lanka due to receive 1 million doses of Sinopharm vaccine on the 6th of June, it was announced today that the public will be able to receive the second dose of the Sinopharm vaccine from the 8th of June onwards. Chief of the National Operations Centre for the Prevention of COVID-19, Army Commander General Shavendra Silva, made this announcement today, saying that a person who has already received the first dose can go to the same vaccination centre where the first dose was administered for his or her second dose. Yesterday, 65,104 persons were administered with the first dose of the Sinopharm vaccine, raising overall vaccinations from the China-made jab to 666,612. Meanwhile, the number of persons to have been given the Sputnik vaccine also rose to 16,664 after 1,680 persons were administered with the jab yesterday. Yesterday also saw 193 persons being given the second dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine as well. During the inoculation drive, there had been several incidents of people being left inconvenienced and disgruntled owing to inadequate doses of the vaccine made available to certain vaccination centres. Though Deputy Director General of Education and Research at the Ministry of Health, Dr. Hemantha Herath, offered an explanation into this, it seems though the inconvenience is inevitable to a certain degree.
එන්නත සැපයුමේ තියෙන අනිශ්චිතභාවය නිසා තමයි මේ සියල්ලම සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ. මේ රජයේ පාලනයෙන් සම්පූර්ණයෙන් තොරයි මේ එන්නත් සැපයුම් සම්බන්ධයෙන් තියෙන අනිශ්චිතභාවය. මේ හේතුකටගෙන තමයි අපිට සීමිත ප්‍රදේශවල සීමිත ස්ථානවල පමණක් මේ එන්නත් ලබා දීමට සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒ නිසාම ජනතාව ඒ තැන්වලට එක්රැස් වීම වළක්වන්න බෑ. එහිදී අපි ඒ නිසා තමයි ජනතාවගෙන් ඉල්ලා සිටින්නේ මේ තත්ත්වයේ තීරුම් අරගෙන අනවශ්‍ය ලෙස අවධානයකට ලක් නොවි තමන්ට අවස්ථාව ලැබෙන තෙක් ඉවසීමෙන් කටයුතු කරන්න කියලා.
In the meantime, there were allegations leveled at the government on social media claiming that people wanting to be vaccinated are forced to give their consent to receiving just one dose of the vaccine. The accusers claim that those who do not give their consent are overlooked for inoculation. At a separate media briefing today, Dr. Hemantha Herath was quizzed on the matter.
අපිට නම් එහෙම දෙයක් වාර්තා වෙලා නැහැ. ඒ පිළිබඳව එහෙම ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා නම් අපි ඒක ප්‍රධාන මාධ්‍ය හරහා ඉදිරියේදී අපි දැනුම් දෙන්නම්. එහෙම දෙයකට සෞඛ්‍ය අමාත්‍යාංශය දැනුවත්ව එහෙම උපදේශයක් ලබා දීලා නැහැ.
In the meantime, there were 2,859 COVID-19 infections across all 25 districts of the country yesterday, with the Western Province accounting for the highest caseload with 1,602. The Colombo district yet again reported the highest number of cases with 608, while Gampa confirmed 547 infections. The Kaluthara district recorded 447 fresh cases of the virus, while Gaul reported 143 and Kegol confirmed 136. Meanwhile, 108 new cases of the virus were recorded from Kandy, while 99 came from Kurunegala, 82 from Matra and 78 from Ratnapura. A further 601 coronavirus infections were recorded from 16 other districts. In addition, 10 imported cases were also part of yesterday's daily caseload. As for today, 1,531 new COVID-19 infections have been confirmed so far. In other developments, the Old Ceylon Nurses Union launched a trade union action by going on sick leave this morning. This was carried out due to the failure to provide proper solutions to the issues faced by nurses engaged in COVID-19 treatment. In the meantime, Sri Lanka's overall number of COVID-19 related fatalities rose by 36 to 1,441. According to the Department of Government Information, 7 of the deaths had occurred yesterday and the rest had taken place between the 2nd and the 29th of May. It added that the cause of death of 24 of the victims is COVID pneumonia. The remaining 12 had reportedly suffered from underlying health conditions, while they also developed COVID pneumonia. Meanwhile, following confirmation of the recovery of 1,915 COVID-19 patients today, the island's overall recoveries rose to 151,740. As such, the number of active COVID-19 cases in the island is at 31,802.
In the meantime, police media spokesperson DIG Derana urged the heads of all institutions to issue passes only for employees who are genuinely considered essential to a company's operations. DIG Derana made this request after highlighting a significant increase in vehicles entering Colombo was witnessed this morning, following a rapid decline yesterday. Meanwhile, the country's international airports will welcome inbound travellers from tomorrow, ending the 9-day ban on inbound travelling. However, passengers with a travel history to India and Vietnam in the last 14 days before arrival will not be allowed to disembark in the country until further notice.
Taking the rapid spread of COVID-19 into account, the Sri Lankan government halted the arrival of inbound passengers to the country from the 23rd of May to the 31st of May. However, all international ports will be reopened for inbound travellers from tomorrow, ending the 9-day ban.
Each aircraft can carry maximum number of 75 passengers and 14 days compulsory quarantine and 3 PCR, 1 PCR from negative PCR from origin and 2 PCR arrive in Sri Lanka, and also they have to follow all the health guidelines. But any passengers have been to Vietnam during last 14 days not allowed to come to Sri Lanka due to the current situation in Vietnam.
Further, passengers with a travel history to India within the last 14 days will also not be allowed to disembark in Sri Lanka until further notice. Meanwhile, yesterday the police reported a 40% drop in vehicles entering Colombo when compared with the situation which prevailed before the travel restrictions came into effect. However, that success seems to have short-lived. Traffic heading towards Colombo along the high-level road, 120 route and Colombo-Negombo main road showed a marked increase. The police had kept tabs on the vehicle which entered the city from 6:30 am to 10:30 am today. They say 55,944 vehicles in total entered Colombo during the said hours. 20,440 of them had belonged to the health sector, while about 7,000 vehicles were related to the delivery of food items. A further 4,760 vehicles have been delivering cooked food, and 8,232 vehicles had been related to the transportation of patients. Meanwhile, 8,232 vehicles had represented other essential services. There, however, had been around 3,528 vehicles which had entered Colombo with no valid reason to be on the road. The police say those motorists will be strictly dealt with as per the quarantine law.
මෙම පැමිණි වාහනවල අත්‍යවශ්‍ය සේවාවලටයි පවසමින් පැමිණි වාහනවල පුද්ගලයන් ඔවුන්ගේ යම් යම් ලිපි ඉදිරිපත් කරනු ලැබුවා අදාළ ආයතන ප්‍රධානීන් විසින් ලබා දෙන ලද ලිපි ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන් අපි අහඹු ලෙස තෝරාගත් ලිපි ඡායා පිටපත් දුරකථන මගින් පොලිස් ප්‍රධානීන් විසින් ලබාගෙන තිබෙනවා ඡායාරූපයක් ඉලෙක්ට්‍රොනික මාධ්‍යයෙන් එම ලිපි වලට අදාළව විමර්ශනයක් මේ මොහොතේ ආරම්භ කර තිබෙනවා විශේෂයෙන්ම අත්‍යවශ්‍ය සේවාවල සමාජිකයින්ට ඒ වගේම මෙම ආයතන ප්‍රධානීන්ට අපි දැනුම් දී තිබෙන්නේ අවශ්‍යතාවය මතම පමණක් ඔහුගේ සේවය අවශ්‍යම නම් ගෙන්න ගන්න. මුත් සමහර ආයතන ප්‍රධානීන් ඊටම කනගාටුදායක ලෙස සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම තම ආයතනයේ සියලුම දෙනාට එකවර ලිපි නිකුත් කර තිබෙනවා. ඔවුන්ගේ සේවය අවශ්‍ය වුණත් නොවුණත්. යම්කිසි පුද්ගලයෙකුට ලිපියක් නිකුත් කරලා තියෙනවා නම් ඒ ලිපිය අනුව ඔහුගේ රාජකාරී අවශ්‍යතාවයක් තිබිය යුතුයි. ඒ වගේම එදින ඔහු රාජකාරී ස්ථානයේ වෙත වාර්තා කළ යුතුයි. එය ඔහුගේ සේවය අත්‍යවශ්‍ය රාජකාරියක් විය යුතුයි. එසේ නොමැතිව හේතුවක් නොමැතිව අත්‍යවශ්‍ය රාජකාරී සඳහා යම් ලිපි නිකුත් කරලා තියෙනවා නම් ඒ ලිපි නිකුත් කළ ආයතන ප්‍රධානීන් හෝ නියෝජිතයින් හෝ සුපර්වයිසර් වරුන් හෝ අධීක්ෂක අයට විරුද්ධව නීතිය මගින් ක්‍රියා කිරීමට සිදු වෙනවා. කූට ලේඛනයක් පිළියෙල කිරීම, ඒ වගේම නිරෝධායන රීතීන් වලට පටහැනිව කටයුතු කිරීමට යම් අයෙකුට අනුබල දීම යටතේ.
Meanwhile, during the day, several economic centers located inside and outside the western province opened for wholesale trade today. However, social distancing during the operation remained absent. What's more, some people refrain from wearing face masks properly. In the meantime, delivery services of essential supplies continues to operate throughout the day. However, several mobile vendors were seen selling goods on roadside.
ඩිලිවරි සේවා සඳහා අවසර ලබා දී තිබෙන්නේ ජනතාව එක තැනකට එක්රැස් කිරීමට නොවේ සියලු අතුරු මාර්ගවල ගමන් කර ජනතාව එකතු වීම වළක්වමින් මෙම ආහාර ද්‍රව්‍ය බෙදා හැරීම සැලැස්වීමටයි. නමුත් එසේ නොකරන්නේ නම් එම ඩිලිවරි සේවාවල බලපත්‍ර අහෝසි කරන ලෙස පොලිසිය මගින් ඉල්ලා සිටීමට කටයුතු කරනු ලබනවා.
Meanwhile, several incidents with regard to quarantine law violators were reported yesterday. One such incident was a party organized at a 5-star hotel located in Golf Face, Colombo, with the participation of over 20 people. The Fort Police had raided the venue. However, by the time the police arrived at the hotel, the party had ended. The organizer of the party, along with an actress who had been in attendance, had surrendered to the Fort Police this morning. The suspects were produced before court today, following which they were released on cash bails of 1 million rupees each. Investigations into the matter are being conducted by the Fort Police. In Kurunegala, a Pirit chanting ceremony was organized by the Kurunegala police to invoke blessings on the nation and to protect the country from COVID-19. With the ceremony underway, the birthday of the Kurunegala mayor Tushara Sanjeeva had been celebrated with the involvement of the police.
මෙහිදී යම් ආකාරයකදී පොලිස් නිලධාරීන් විසින් යම් වරදක් කර තිබෙන බව බැලූ බැල්මට පෙනී යනවා. එම විමර්ශනයෙන් පසුව ඔවුන්ට එරෙහිව පොලිස් විනය සංග්‍රහය යටතේ මෙන්ම නිරෝධායන රීතීන් යටතේ කටයුතු කිරීමට බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. ඒ වගේම මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් යම් පාර්ශවයක් කටයුතු කර තිබෙනවා නම් ඒ සියලු දෙනාට එරෙහිව නිරෝධායන රීතීන් යටතේ කටයුතු කිරීමට බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. ඒ වගේම මීට සම්බන්ධ එම ස්ථානයේ සහකාර පොලිස් අධිකාරිවරයෙක් සිටින බවට පෙනී ගොස් තිබෙනවා. එම සහකාර පොලිස් අධිකාරිවරයා සම්බන්ධයෙන්ුත් ඔහුට ස්ථානමාරු වීමක් වහාම ලබා දී ඔහුට එරෙහිව විමර්ශනය කිරීමටත් පොලිස් මුලස්ථානය තීරණය කර තිබෙනවා.
A 55-year-old marriage registrar in Oliville in the Eastern Province was taken into custody yesterday by the Terrorism Investigation Division for his links to Easter attack leader Zahran Hashim. According to investigators, following what is known as the Aliar Junction clash in 2017, where Zahran Hashim and his colleagues were involved in an attack on another group, Zahran went into hiding. In the latest developments, investigators had identified the marriage registrar as the individual who gave the group shelter in Oliville.
A 55-year-old person, a marriage registrar in Oliville area in connection with the Easter Sunday explosions and the events happened before the Easter Sunday incidents. The person has been identified as Ahmadu Lebbe Subaiddin. According to the investigation, it had been revealed that Zahran Hashim and another 4 persons had involved in an incident happened at Aliar in Kathankudi area in year 2017. Zahran had assaulted a group of persons who expressed their views against Zahran's ideology. Then thereafter, Zahran had been missing for a certain period, and Zahran and the other persons had been accommodated by a person in Oliville area. Yesterday, the person was identified as the marriage registrar, so therefore he was arrested and he has been detained at the sub-unit of TID unit Batiklo, and he would be brought to Colombo and he would be detained under the provisions of the Prevention of Terrorism Act. In addition to that, the 5 persons who were accommodated by the suspect has been identified as 2 Maulavis, Zahran Hashim, his brother Rilwan and another person.
The Tamil Nadu state is bracing for major protests against the passing of the Colombo Port City Economic Commission bill, with the state's police force having been warned of the involvement of ultra-Tamil groups and pro-LTTE organizations. Tamil Nadu police expect violence to be directed towards Sri Lanka and Chinese establishments in the state by groups citing the Colombo Port City Economic Commission bill and, surprisingly, the Hambantota port. Meanwhile, Bharatiya Janata Party senior Dr. Subramanian Swamy accused the Tamil Nadu government of protecting LTTE operatives currently on the FBI's wanted list.
Police personnel in the Indian southern state of Tamil Nadu have been placed on high alert in expectation of protests organized by pro-LTTE groups. Indian media reports say that alerts have been issued to all of the state's 37 district police chiefs of possible protests by ultra-Tamil groups, including pro-LTTE fronts operating in the state. The reason for the protest has been cited as the passing of the Colombo Port City Economic Commission Bill by the Sri Lankan government, which many media outlets in India have been erroneously reporting as having resulted in the ceding of full control of the port of Hambantota to the Chinese government. In reality, the Port City Bill only relates to the appointment of a commission that will oversee investments in the special economic zone, and hence the media reports connecting the Hambantota port to the passing of the bill only serves to mislead the Indian public on the issue. In truth, back in 2017, under Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, a 70% stake of the Hambantota port was leased out to China Merchants Port Holdings Company Limited for 99 years for a sum of $1.12 billion. The remaining 30% stake is under the Sri Lanka Ports Authority. Port operations are handled jointly between China Merchants and the SLPA, while the Sri Lankan government still retains ownership. At the time of the lease agreement, the Hambantota port was valued at $1.4 billion, with China Merchant Port Holdings having invested $1.12 billion under the terms of the agreement. Meanwhile, Tamil Nadu's Director General of Police J.K. Tripathi says that any protest may target Sri Lankan and Chinese establishments in the state, which will be spearheaded by pro-LTTE groups attempting to drum up public support against the Sri Lankan government's passing of the bill. Police stations across Tamil Nadu have been instructed to intensify security measures in such areas to prevent any unrest and violence. In the meantime, Bharatiya Janata Party Rajya Sabha member Dr. Subramaniam Swamy has taken to social media to accuse the sister of current Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin, Kanimozi Karunanidhi, of harbouring LTTE arms smuggler Jagat Kasparaj. Raj has been identified by the US Federal Bureau of Investigation for his direct involvement in the procurement of military equipment, communication devices and other technology, fundraising and money laundering through front charitable organizations. Further, he has also been linked to other criminal activities such as conspiracy to bribe public officials and dealing in financial transactions with a designated foreign terrorist organization such as the LTTE. However, with the FBI's extradition request a decade old now, the likelihood of the Tamil Nadu government continuing to turn a blind eye against LTTE groups remains very high.
We'll see you shortly with more news. Don't go away. Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now, the onset of the third wave in the country and the subsequent countrywide travel restrictions have hit business confidence hard in the month of May, with a 49-point plunge in the LMD Nielsen index. With the index currently at 89, it remains below the 12-month average and at the same level as when the island-wide lockdowns were imposed during the early months of the pandemic in 2020. However, Nielsen in its report says that the successful arrival of COVID-19 vaccines will determine any positive upward trend in the index.
The LMD Nielsen Business Confidence Index plunged by a massive 49 basis points to 89 in May after big gains in the previous month to register a 5-month low. This reverses the moderate gains witnessed for most of the year to date. The fall marks the highest since April last year, when the pandemic-related lockdowns came into effect. It also places the index at the same level it was a year ago, below its average for the last 12 months of 110. In March last year, a few weeks prior to the curfew, the BCI stood at a healthy 145 points, which was some 20 notches above the all-time average. In terms of sensitivities, the most pressing issue for businesses continues to be the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, followed by inflation and political instability. From a countrywide perspective, the spread of the virus continues to be perceived as the main issue, along with the economy and poverty, which has been cited as major concerns. Nielsen's Director Consumer Insights Terika Mianadenia says that although both the Business Confidence Index and the Consumer Confidence Index are not yet at their all-time lows, if the present trend continues, there's a possibility of this happening, but the silver lining may lie in the country's ongoing immunization program. She added that the outlook for the BCI will surely hinge on the government's ability to secure more vaccines and conduct the island-wide rollout more expeditiously and in double quick time. The consignments of doses expected to arrive in the country, which will determine the success of the immunization drive, may be the key factor in the direction of the index in the near term, she concluded.
The Colombo Bourse has seen a record-breaking year-to-date market turnover volume for the first 5 months of 2021. After posting 414.5 billion rupees, the 2021 turnover volume is the third highest market turnover in the history of the CSE.
The all-share price index and the S&P SL20 index at the Colombo Stock Exchange have recorded year-to-date growth. The ASPI has recorded a 9.3% growth within the first 5 months of 2021, while the S&P SL20 index has registered a 13% growth. The CSE said in a statement that the market also saw record-breaking year-to-date market turnover volume of 414.5 billion rupees for the first 5 months in 2021. It added that the year-to-date market turnover for 2021 exceeds the annual market turnover of 396 billion rupees achieved in 2020. Accordingly, 2021 year-to-date market turnover is already marked as the third highest market turnover recorded in the history of CSE and the highest market turnover recorded within the shortest period of time. Previously, high market turnover volumes were recorded during the period of 2010 and 2011, where 570 billion rupees and 546 billion rupees was achieved. The CSE also noted that the year-to-date daily average market turnover for 2021 is 4.4 billion rupees as at today, and is the highest daily average turnover in the history. The average number of trades per day is approximately 27,000, which it says is double compared to 2020. Meanwhile, 3 initial public offerings have successfully concluded this year, with all 3 issues being oversubscribed and closing on the opening day and raising an aggregate of 3.9 billion rupees in equity capital. The CSE says that the market digitalization efforts also saw a significant number of new accounts being opened, and the daily volume of new accounts have doubled and many new younger investors are entering the stock market since the electronic account openings were enabled in September 2020.
Meanwhile, the all-share price index gained by 70 points to end at 7,403.44 today, while the S&P SL20 index of more liquid stocks ended at 2,978.81 points following a 23-point gain. Market turnover was 3.3 billion rupees for the day. Now here's Dimantha Matthew with a brief report on today's market performance.
Today also we saw a significant surge in the market today. The index is up by 70 points, and what we are seeing is today being the 4th consecutive day that the index is ending in the green. If you take the last 4 days, we've seen a gradual uptrend in the index, and on each day the acceleration is higher than the previous day. So today is the highest index gain that we saw over the last 4 days. We are seeing a gradual improvement in confidence level among investors leading to this uptrend. So today we saw the index surpassing the 7,400 mark. With the 70-point surge, the index has ended at 7,403 points, and 3.3 billion rupees of turnover is recorded today, which is significantly higher than what we've seen over the last 3 to 4 weeks.
Now, in the currency market, the rupee remained unchanged at 202.88 cents against the US dollar today after closing at the same level last Friday. Let's take a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee traded against other major currencies during the day. The Chinese southern province of Guangdong has seen a rise in daily imported cases, forcing its health authorities to send a special team of experts to manage the crisis. Meanwhile, India's daily cases are showing a decline in the past few days as its total caseload surpassed the 28 million mark as of yesterday.
The Chinese central government has sent a team of experts on infectious disease prevention and control to steer the fight against COVID-19 in Guangdong, a southern province recently hit by a COVID-19 upsurge, the National Health Commission announced today. In 24 hours up to yesterday, Guangdong registered 20 more locally transmitted confirmed cases, 16 of which were recategorized from asymptomatic cases, 3 more asymptomatic infections and 3 more imported confirmed cases. By Sunday, the province had reported a total of 2,455 confirmed cases, 1,033 of which were imported since the outbreak of the pandemic in 2019, while a total of 64 COVID-19 patients are still receiving treatment at hospitals. Meanwhile, India's COVID-19 tally surpassed the 28 million mark today, reaching 28,047,534, with 152,734 new cases reported in the past 24 hours, the Federal Health Ministry reported. The daily spike of new cases has been falling over the past couple of weeks, while as many as 3,128 deaths since Sunday morning have taken the overall death toll to 329,100. There are still 2,026,092 active cases in the country, with a decrease of 88,416 cases in the past 24 hours. The number of daily active cases has been on the decline over the past few days after a continuous surge since mid-April. A total of 25,692,342 people have been cured and discharged from hospital so far across the country, showed the latest data from the Federal Health Ministry.
And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.